You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Uffens. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Hunt Stealth Podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Cody Rich on. Cody, thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Cody is an entrepreneur. He is a hunting expert, as he's become. I'm saying it. I've been looking at what you're doing, and you've got some things figured out. So make sure you guys go give him a follow on the IG. It's the Rich Outdoors. You got the Rich Outdoors podcast, and you got an Elk Hunt podcast as well. So tell me, Cody, what was it? I mean, we were talking and you said you started your podcast back in 2013.
15.
Was that 15 to 2015?
Yeah.
So you've been doing it for a hot minute.
Yeah,
and kind of we were talking before I started this because I want to learn, and I am the furthest thing from an expert. Like I've yet to even let an arrow fly at an animal, but that's okay because this is going to be the year for me. Like we said, I've learned a whole bunch, but tell me kind of like, maybe talk to the folks a little bit about just your history, starting the podcast, what you've learned and how you kind of built systems into place to help you be successful.
Yeah. And I think I cringe a little at the whole expert comment because no one is ever an expert. I definitely don't claim to be an expert. And, we were talking before the podcast, talking about a little bit about imposter syndrome. You're like, what business do I have doing a hunting podcast? Well, to be fair, like when I started, I felt the same way. And when I started a podcast, it was so I could ask better questions. Podcasting was, taking off at that time. And I remember I would read like Field and Stream or whatever, and they were like comically bad info on like hardcore elk hunting. I had reached a point in elk hunting where I was good. I was killing elk every year, but like I had more questions, right? Like it was just like, to this day, and I've said this multiple times on my show, but it's like, I wanted to ask Dan Evans, who's, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but like fairly irrelevant to most people these days. He was the OG back then. And it was like, I just wanted to sit down and ask him questions that like for pretty high level problems that I was having, like chasing big bulls. And it was like, man, there just wasn't really that long form platform. So I started a podcast to learn. Right. And I did. And, one of my first guests, I think episode 4 was Remy. And I was just beyond, stoked that Remy would take the time and get on my podcast. I think the next episode, there's so many legends, but I had this ability to just ask questions. Right. And it helped me. And then over time, you get questions from other people that you can start to answer. And, I never considered myself a teacher, but it was like, there are always people on their own journey who are below you and above you. And that will always be true for everyone. Right. And that's just eternal. So I was able to answer some questions for people. And I think, you learn as much by teaching. You have to refine your thoughts. And I think 10 years of doing the podcast, you have to really think through your thoughts on things, which help, right? And you have to be able to explain them to people, and you have to, and in that act of teaching, you learn so much. And so a little bit before, backstory, I went to college to be a firefighter, and at this fire school I went to.
That explains the mustache.
I get that. The first year you're at fire school, you're kind of the student and you learn, and you're learning from second years. And so in the second year, you're the teacher, right? And you learn more, you refine your thoughts more as a teacher to those, students than anything. And this is applicable in a lot of places, right. Military things, all the, this is not revolutionary, but I think the act of teaching makes you refine your thoughts in the same way that when you have to write or speak, you have to think through your thoughts in a way that help you understand them better. And so I think over the years of helping people elk hunt and things, it was you kind of refine your thoughts. And we were talking about systems. So I'm a huge systems guy. That stems mostly from the entrepreneur side of building businesses is just 100 different systems, right? And you're trying to refine systems, you're trying to build systems, in a lot of ways, life is systems. And that's the way I think. And so it just made more sense. So there was there was other courses, Corey's course is awesome. he's an OG. Like Corey Jacobson, you know, like he wrote the book, right? Like he is one of the OGs, and he had his perfect system. And I was one of those elk hunters. So I grew up hunting Roosevelts, and I ended up hunting Rockies in Oregon. When I moved to Montana, I got into chasing bigger bulls, and like I kind of became a student of the game. I am not one of those people who's like, oh, I got my system and I can kill a 6 point every year. It was kind of like, what's next? Like, how do I expand? Right? Like, I want to go to New Mexico. I want to go to Nevada. Like, I want to hunt the plains. I want to hunt the thick stuff. And so, like, just that curiosity forced me to hunt in many, many different places, which is not the most successful a solution. That's not the way to be the most successful. Like if you really want to just kill an elk every year, do like find the thing that works and just rinse and repeat, which is also true in business, by the way. But if you're always trying new things, like you're learning, right? And that was it kind of developed into this theory that me and one of my co-hosts at the time had. We developed this like 101, 201, and 301. Like we always talk about like 101 hunters are kind of just wandering around in the woods, trying to get lucky. They're trying to figure it out. It's like all on hopes and dreams. And then like 201 is the guy that's killing, a good bull every year. We don't say, you could say 6 point, you could just say branch bull. Like you're killing every year. Like that's a consistent guy. Generally speaking, those guys have like a good system. You could, whether it's like born and raised cat road shuffle, or it's like, Corey Jacobson always had his like, just cover ground, locate, get close, challenge bugle. And like, you rinse and repeat that enough times, you're going to kill something. And so like, that was our 201, like you need to develop your system. And then, 301 was kind of like what you're striving to be. It's like the guy that could just kill the 1%, right? He's going to go find the biggest bull in the state or the unit or whatever, and he's going to get that bull killed. Like whether it's in the thick stuff, whether it's in the open country, like he's going to get it killed. He's going to have a system for that. And like that was like something we said a long time ago. And I don't know, I think it works well for me. And I've had a lot of feedback. So we developed I kind of ended up developing a course a few years ago. It was like, here's how I think about it in a systems fashion. And it resonates well because a lot of people have my mindset, where it's like, oh, I need to develop this system. And we could like dive into like how to do that, what it looks like, all those things. I think it's just a good framework. And I'm big on frameworks because like, it's just like you put this, I don't know, killing an elk into this box and you're like, okay, now I kind of understand all the pieces and I can tweak and play with it as I get better, as I learn, like all of those things. So yeah. Long and short of it, that's where it came from.
I think that's incredible advice. And I feel like I'm the kid that has ADHD in school. And like I start watching a video and I start developing a system and I'm just going to go figure something out. Now, like I said, having been almost, doing this podcast for 7 months now, and I say this a lot on the podcast because it's true, because every conversation, it's almost like, I can't remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie where everyone's sitting around and they're talking like maybe it's 13th Warrior. I don't know why that just popped into my head, but I think it's Antonio Banderas. He's sitting around and he's captive, right? And they're all speaking a different language. And they had him for like years. And then all of a sudden he started understanding what they were saying. And that's how I feel like my learning journey when it comes to hunting has kind of been happening. All of a sudden, like somebody says something and I'm back on the side of the mountain and I'm going, oh, I should have done this instead of that. And you kind of start to build, you're calling it a system. I'm like, oh, I'm building a playbook on how to improve and get better.
Right.
But I have, like I said, I'm riddled with ADHD. I start doing one thing and can very quickly get on. That's the other thing too, is sit in a wallow is not good for me. Okay, well, we've been here 5 minutes. Nothing's here. Let's go see what we can find. Yeah. And that might be okay. Like you said, you can develop your own system, but you don't know what you don't know. I wasn't raised in a family of hunters. No one close to me hunts, but it's been nice talking. We talked about Harbison's. Casey and Jordan have been super cool and helping, connect me with the right people that have information and knowledge. And then, like I said, some of the guys' brains you get to sit and pick. I'm feeling good about being successful this year, but I haven't sat down and built out a system. So
Yeah.
Maybe let's dig into that for somebody that's new to elk hunting that still has the training wheels on. How would you tell somebody to go through and build out a system, and whether it's for them or just one that you found that works, that's going to be able to have them kind of let the wheels come flying off and get cruising?
Totally. And the hard part is like when you're brand new, you're right off the boat, like you just don't know what you don't know. And so it's hard to be like, here's what's going to be my system. And, I kind of call my course the Elk 201, which I think a lot of people are intimidated by because they're like, well, I'm super new. But I also feel like once you understand the framework, it's easier to apply the pieces later than it is, just playing guess and check. So I'll take elk hunting, for example. And I think, we could just kind of run through my system and maybe it'll help explain. Like everyone's going to find their own system or whatever. It's going to depend on where you hunt. It's going to depend on, the type of terrain, the type, mule deer versus all these things matter. Right. But when I think about elk hunting, I kind of break it into 4 pieces. And I just had this conversation the other day. We really, really get wrapped around the axle when it comes to elk calling tactics or shooting our bow and these things. And, those are great, but they're a very small piece of the big picture puzzle. Right. And so I kind of break it up into 4 pieces, which one is choosing an area, right? So much of your success is going to be dictated on the tag you have. And this is something that gets so overlooked. People are like, I'll just hunt close to my house. Well, if close to your house sucks, like you're going to spend a lot of years not being great. Right. And so much of it matters. So we break it into like just e-scouting, being able to pick a unit, be able to pick an area and, how you're going to hunt that area. I think we romanticize throwing a dart at the map and we go there and it's like this epic thing. And more often than not, it's not good. And like, you have to like, be able to re-scout, relearn, like, and even that is its own micro system. Right. And I think if I'm good at anything, it's being able to pick an area. It's being able to like set it up in a way that's like, I'm going to systematically hunt the entire unit. One of the biggest problems I see when people come to me and say, hey, will you look at this area? Like I'm going there here this year. And it's like, man, and that would be an area I'd hunt in one day. Like you're not thinking big enough. And so they put all this effort into this like one drainage. And you're like, what if there's no elk in that drainage? What are you going to do? And this is where people really stumble because they're so fixated on podcasts about whether to cow call or bull call or challenge people that they have this one area and they haven't really thought through this. What is the system for finding elk? So the first step is like, I have to be damn good at finding elk. And that could be in the entire unit. It could be all over the state, but like, I need a system. Like I'm going to check this draw. I'm going to check this draw. I'm going to check this draw. And, again, a lot of people like romanticize this backcountry hunting, but if you're new, that's probably not the best answer. Like maybe there are pieces of that puzzle and like to each their own, whatever hunt you want. I don't want to turn people away from backcountry hunting, but if you don't understand how to choose an area to find elk, the last thing you should be doing is committing an entire hunt to one place where there may or may not be elk, right? If you're Ryan Lampers, it's different. Like he's got a lifetime choosing spots and he could, he's really good at throwing a dart at the map and knowing there's elk there. He's got a lot of repetitions for that gut intuition, which most people don't have.
Spent so much time
right
out hunting. And to your point, I think, and I don't want to interject myself like I'm an expert. That's my one takeaway too, is if you're going to go hunt an area, you should go and do some scouting, and where you might find them in the summer is not going to be where they're necessarily going to be, but it helps you familiarize yourself with the terrain. And that's been one of the big things for me, that I'm the guy that's like, boom, that sounds like a good place that I can go try and fill my OTC tag. So I'm going to go there for 4 days. And then you go there and you didn't do any e-scouting or anything. And it's just, it can be frustrating for sure.
Right. So I would say like step one is being able to find a unit, find an area, whatever it may be, and like choosing the right, like a little bit of that plays into like, what are your assets? Are you like, do you have horses? Do you have mountain bikes? Can you hike farther than anyone in the world? Like there's a million pieces to that puzzle. And it's its own, like, you know, you can spend hours just on that topic. The next one is like being able to find elk once you get there. Now, the analogy I like to use is, you know, if you wounded an elk, would you just randomly start looking around in the canyon and like going into different places? No, you would like choose a systematic path. And so being able to, in your e-scouting plan, develop a systematic path for like searching the unit. Like, okay, we're going to search this entire unit to find elk, and then we can start hunting, right? Like, we have to be able to find elk. So step 2 is like, can you find elk? This is the most important skill that no one talks about, no one practices, no one can, you know, like it's the differentiator. If I am successful year in and year out, it's mostly because I'm able to like find elk in a unit. No one does that. They're all practicing how to get close, how to do, you know, how to kill them, how to shoot, which is great. But, you know, if you're only getting 2 opportunities, I just had this conversation. If you're only getting 2 opportunities per season, like, even I wouldn't be successful, right? Like, it's just like that. It's too tough, right? I had a guy message me the other day, and he's like, here's the 2 opportunities I had last year. You know, what would you have done differently? And he had videos of it. He's like, this bull comes in, stops and turns. I was like, man, honestly, I would have made the exact same decision you did. I would have thought that raghorn bull would have given me a second chance. I wouldn't have thought about it, right? And he's like, what can I do differently? I said, just get more at bats. You need, like, if you're getting 10 at bats, you're going to be successful. 10 at bats only comes with being in the right units first and foremost, and then being able to systematically find elk. Like, if you're on elk every single day, you're going to be far more successful than if you spent 5 days trying to find elk in an area. So that's a big piece of it, just being able to find elk, right? And, you know, you could dive into like an entire system of how that works. Then it's like, okay, how do you get close to elk? Which is it's the thing that it's the sexy part. It's the thing everyone wants to talk about, wants to do. It's like, do you call? Do you stalk? But too many people only focus on that. To me, it's kind of the easy part. Like, getting in the red zone, it's a hurdle, but like, it's not the biggest hurdle. Finding elk, it's the biggest hurdle. And so like, then you develop your own system. And whether that's like, you're like, I'm going to locate, and every bull that answers me, I'm going to run in a challenge bugle. That's a system. And if you had enough elk and you were good enough at finding elk, that would work. It doesn't work that great anymore, but like, it would work. And so you're like, that's my system. I usually like to have 2 or 3, like in the tool chest, you got your calf call, right? Like, I'm going to get close. I'm going to just hammer on my calf call and see if I can call bull, or I'm just going to slip into bedding areas, and I'm going to do light cow calling for 30 minutes. Like, that's one of my tactics. And I'm just going to hammer that over and over and over. And that's how I'm going to get close to elk. So like, you could develop an entire system around, step 3. And then step 4 is like, I think it's called how to be successful without getting lucky, which is, basically from the red zone on. And, this is where most people make mistakes. And to be honest, like, you kind of just have to go through a lot of those to like learn how to move around elk when you're that tight, when to draw, when not to draw, like there's a lot of the taking out all the variables that you can, as far as like, being able to shoot from a kneeling position, like all these little things that will screw it up at the last moment, which happens to a lot of us. But, like, there's a lot of things you can dive into. So I guess that's kind of the rough outline. I don't know if there's anything like you like, man, I want to dive into this piece.
Yeah, well, I mean, the finding the elk portion, I think, is what, like you said, and that's like step 2, right?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if you can't get to step 2 and find them, there's no 3 or 4.
Right.
I mean, maybe you can get lucky on accident. Like I said, that was my experience. My first time out elk hunting is we knew nobody wants to give you their hunting spot, right? But my buddy was like, hey, look, I'm not going there this year. He's like, but you can't tell anybody about it. The funny thing is everybody knew about this spot. And it's like one it's fairly close to home, honestly, but you go up there and I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, I've gotten close, right? I'm seeing there's elk femurs and I'm seeing some bones and stuff up there. And I'm like, okay.
Hey, people kill elk here.
Yeah, people kill elk here. But anyway, we were going down to where these wallows were, and this big old stud just came crashing in behind me. He was in thick stuff. And anyway, yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to, like, I drew back on him, but I didn't have a shot on vitals. And anyway, he's walking. He was, it would have been an amazing first bull to shoot. I mean, I don't know what it was. I wasn't filming. I didn't have anything. He was probably at least like a 5-point, but I mean, he was big. Like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, 30 yards. I ranged him 30 yards. He's coming through. There's this huge pine tree that he just goes locking underneath. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And I'm looking ahead the direction he's going, and he's coming in broadside to me. And I'm like, if he steps into that opening, I was just going to like make like a chirp, a noise or something, just try and get him like freeze for a second. Cause like I'm locked on where I think I need to be, just waiting for him to expose. And then, you know, the breeze of death hits the back of your neck and like he freezes and like he turns. And it was like incredible to see like that head turn, but he stopped before he was in the opening and just boom, blew out. But I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Ah, that's awesome.
Just that experience. And since then, I've yet to even get on another bull. But so it's a good thing it happened. That was my first time. And it was the last day of archery hunting. So and they weren't answering to bugles like at all. And I can't bugle. I don't try to bugle. I've discovered that, you know, when I try and do a cow call, I sound more like a mountain lion. So like nothing's coming running to see what I am. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, maybe if you would be willing to like dig into a little bit more of like your system and how you do that. And maybe from like an e-scouting perspective, because like a lot of new hunters, when they're new to it, especially if they're, you know, like me getting started, you know, a little bit later in life, it's a hard negotiation when you haven't married into like, hey, this is what I'm going to use my vacation time for,
right?
with the wife. So, you know, the e-scouting is probably going to be your best bet. Maybe just touch on a little bit of that if you would.
If you're chasing big game out west, you know your glass is only as good as your tripod. That's why I run the Muley Maniacs Canopy Pro Carbon XL. It's lightweight, rock solid, and built for the mountains. Whether you're chasing high country mule deer or late season elk, this thing never quits. Muley Maniacs are built to last and come with a lifetime warranty. Right now, you can save 15% off your order with code STEALTH at muleymaniacs.com. That's muleymaniacs.com. Built by hunters for hunters.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Like I'm not getting scout time like I used to. I'm e-scouting at night while my wife watches Netflix. Like it's just what I do. But it's like that phase goes hand in hand with, you know, kind of the finding elk phase, which is, and I learned this really from the unlimited sheeps in Montana. The sheep stag. The unlimited sheep hunt in Montana is one of those, and sheep hunting in general, I think, is just one of those, you have to be very efficient with your use of both time and like energy resource, right? Because it's like every glassing spot, it's not like, oh, I just run up to this glassing spot. It's like 4,000 vert. And, you know, you really got to plan your routes. You really got to know exactly, you know, you can't just be like running around in there in the wilderness, like, oh yeah, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's check this. And so you have to like there may be a spot you really like, but at the end of the day, it's just not efficient, you know, because it's not aligned with a bunch of different ways. And so it really made me think about elk hunting in a different way as like, and I think this is also what Lampers and, you know, Barney are really good at is they build their like paths or whatever. So it's like you're efficiently scouting a unit. And so when I think about e-scouting, it's not just like, oh, what looks good? What's a north face with this angle and whatever. Like it can have the perfect face, but it's 9 miles to get to and it's the only spot to hunt. It is not worth my time. I'm probably still going to do it because I have this like, you know, I got to go see. But for the most part, you really want to be able to like, oh, if I hunt this ridge, right, and I can stay high, I can go here, here, here. Inversely, like, oh, if I hunt this long north face, I can check this canyon, this canyon, and this canyon. You're like, well, now I'm not just throwing a dart at the map and hoping there's an elk there. I am systematically breaking down this unit to where like, I'm going to like, here's my 3 sections. I have different elevations. I have different aspects. I have different vegetation. Like I have everything. And here's how in 3 days I could basically search half the unit. That's really efficient. And by the way, it makes you effective. And so instead of saying like this one golden spot, which I feel like too many people get honed in on like the perfect, I don't know, culmination of north facing aspect and this timber and this, and it's like this, they think it's just this magic Goldilocks. I can tell you, like, I've just hunted enough to know that there's not really a Goldilocks spot, because even the Goldilocks spot you find this year, in 2 years from now, you're like, where the heck did all these elk go? Like, they're just not here. And so when you really just think about finding elk as like, I just have to figure out where they're at this year and where why, there's so many variables in hunting that it's really difficult to like solve for all of them. And so I just focus more on how do I be really efficient and effective with my time, and boiling down, like I e-scout the crap out of it. So I know every path, every route, and I'm going to figure out the unit, and I'm going to search a canyon and be done. I'm out. Like if there's no elk there, I'm done. I'm out. I'm moving very fast.
So when you sit down and you start looking for locations that you want to go in and scout, what are some of like the key things that you want to try and look for that would be that, you're going to have an increased likelihood of having elk in that location?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of this is gut intuition and lots of time, right? Which is not the answer noobs want to hear, but you stared enough.
Well, if that's the answer though.
Well, and it's like, and I think how I figure a lot of this out and get good at new areas is by looking deeply at the areas I have found. So it's almost like hunt recap. So like you go on your hunt and you find where an elk was, like go back to e-scout it and like look at the timber density on the map. Look at like a few of the features. Why were they there? And there's no perfect place, right? Like you could, the most remote place on the map, like Onyx put this like purple section in there where it was like the most remote. That's where the most people are now. Like that's guaranteed the most people. It's like the most remote equals the most people, and the hard, and so like there is no like perfect. I don't think there's any perfect like, this north facing slope or this bowl canyon that faces north, like, or this burn. To me, it's like I don't know. I've just learned over the years that like, there's things that look elky, and it's a blend of like timber densities, openness, thickness, water sure in certain places, maybe not in others. But to me, I almost care less, because I found that I find elk where they're at. And a classic saying is like, don't hunt elk where you think they're going to be, hunt them where they are. Which is to say, like, just figure out how to move through a unit very effectively and search it. I mean, it's like looking for your keys in the house. You don't want to just bounce around. You're like, I know they're here, but like, okay, the 2-year-old moved them. Now where are they? Like, who knows? Yeah. And so like, you kind of just have to be like, think like an elk a little bit, but they kind of are where they are. The deer or the elk is like, so many times I have thought an area was perfect. It didn't end up to be true, right? Like I just found them where I found them. And to me, that was a big aha moment of, like I can have my ideas of where I think an elk is going to be in a unit, and I may be right, I may be wrong, but it doesn't really matter, because I am going to just search this unit like it's my job. I'm going to show up, and a lot of times I will drive an entire unit. I will burn a day to see the entire unit and the roads, and that's all I need to see. And then I'll start taking exploratory missions. Like I rarely would just bomb in and say like, we're going to this spot. I am very much like base camp, whether that's the truck or whatever, and we're going super hard and fast. If we bump elk, we bump elk, but we're just need to figure out where they are, and then we can figure out how to hunt them. I think a lot of new hunters
almost treating it like a recon mission.
Yep,
right?
It's 100% a recon. Like, yeah, and I'll go 5 miles and not take any sleeping anything with me. And I just like, I'll be back out. If I need to go back out and get camping gear, that's fine. But I rarely take like backpacking equipment unless I know there's elk in there. Cause I'm just, to me, it's like, it's a recon mission. And if we get into elk and we kill an elk, that's fine. Solve that problem. But, again, it's like, how do you move faster? Like, I think that's a big problem, that people are like, they're always hunting and they're not searching. I don't advocate bumping elk, but I think too many people walk through like there's an elk around every tree. And you do this long enough and you kind of figure out like, man, there's pockets for sure. But like the vast majority of these mountains is not just an elk around every tree. And if you hunt where there is an elk around every tree, then call me. We'll discuss a different plan.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I mean, it's good news for me because, like I said, I have ADHD and I get up there sometimes like you just got to like sit and wait. And I'm like, but if it's the wrong time of day,
yeah.
I mean, don't wait. Start, push
the
through.
hardest,
Start. That's one of the things that maybe I don't think I've done is really gone out, and I've kind of just gone to my places where I've been told elk are. And now, like you say, not knowing what you don't know. Last year when I was out, it was too damn hot.
Yeah.
The elk hadn't even come down to where we were. So they were still up at higher elevation. So, I mean, because like I said, I'd been up there the previous couple of years and I said, it's a secret spot that I, saw 4 or 5 guys out there trying to hunt on it. And and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go and push down this canyon, this slot canyon that it had dropped into, thinking, oh, maybe I'll find them down there. But now understand, and again, I've been doing it for 4 years. I don't know why I hadn't done more research. I'm terrible at research. My son who does this with me, he's a gear junkie and he likes to dig into things more. But when it's mine, I'm just, hey, I'm going. But like I said, looking in hindsight, it was too hot. Last year was a hot year. I mean, in the last weekend of the hunt when we had gone out, I mean, it was still mid 80s up where we were at. And I'm like, I just wasted time. I learned. I mean, I look at it now, I'm like, okay, well, that's a learning experience. So if it's real hot, I got to go higher in elevation if I'm going to try and find them.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
you because where they're not, you start getting a lot closer to civilization and they're not going to be down there.
And another thing, like you don't know what you don't know, but I see a lot of guys that they get into 1 or 2 elk and they're like, oh, there's elk here. And they'll spend their whole 5, 6 day hunt, 7 day hunt, like in a spot where I would probably just bounce, like I will leave elk to find elk. And I'm always looking for new elk. Cause I think when you're early, you're like, oh, we're on elk. This is it. We've found them. And it's such a rare thing. You don't want to give that up. But I'm a huge believer. If I don't have 2 or 3 different herds that I know about, like we're not sleeping, we're not doing anything. Like it's just go. We'll hunt that herd. We'll come back and hunt that herd at prime times. But like, we need to find more elk. That's the thing is like, I just know we're going to screw that up. I'm going to screw that up. It's going to get screwed up. Like it's just going to happen. I would love, like ideally I have 2 or 3 different herds that I'm hunting at all times. And cause it's going to get screwed up. Stuff's going to happen. And you need backups. And, like the last thing I want is like, I focus on this one herd and, I sit there, take a nap at camp and be like, we're going to go back and hunt that herd at night. Well, then I bump them that night. Now I got to go find new elk. So it's like, I'm relentless when it comes to like finding, if I'm in an area, a new area, it's like, I don't know it. I got to find more elk until, whatever happens.
Yeah. No, I think that's good advice. So, maybe shifting gears, it could be in there. Well, like what is your favorite animal to hunt?
Oh, elk for sure.
Elk.
Yeah.
What's been like, do you have a story that you could share where like you were able to have a successful hunt and maybe it's one that like had put some of the pieces of things that maybe you'd struggled with, that led you to success that maybe you'd share with us?
Yeah. A lot of what I talk about, like these days I say I'm aspiring 301. I don't consider myself a 301 hunter. But like, I love chasing big bulls, love finding big bulls. To me, it's the search more. And so the last few years, it's like I hunt a lot of open country just where I can see. I grew up hunting the thickest stuff in the world. Now I hunt like places where there's no trees. And I still love getting close to bugling elk and stuff. But to me, it's all about the search. And I think you learn a lot when you're trying to be a 301 hunter about, man, how you just have to take it to another level of finding elk. Cause it's not about just finding elk anymore. It's like, you're trying to find the top, you have to find all the elk and you have to figure out where the top 5%, maybe 3% is. And so, last couple of years, I've learned a lot about trying to like locate elk and what that looks like at scale. And so, lots of failure there too. You like spend so much time getting around elk, like whatever. Last year, not semi-success, whatever. Last year, I didn't have a ton of time. It was kind of the end of season, and I hadn't gotten close to elk. I felt like I was getting rusty on my get close to elk phase. I was good at finding them, and so I kind of told myself, like, you know what, I'm just gonna slip in, and the next herd I find, I just want to get close. So, like, that's my goal this trip, is to like get back into some bugling action, and got kind of knew where some elk were. It's not a brand new area, so there's always kind of elk in this place. So I went there, sure enough, in the dark, found, there's bugling bulls right there. I'm like, all right, I kind of know where they're going to go. Let's like get in front of them. So I went up, got in front of them, and, elk coming through the wide open, like the most wide open stuff, but it's kind of rolly hill stuff. And my only goal, I was like, I'm not going to shoot. I'm just going to get close. I would just want to play, I love being close to elk and trying to like dog the herd, move within them. And slipped in, got really close. And it's funny because I made classic, rookie mistake, but just like got caught, right? I'm moving through and I see tracks on the ground. And I remember thinking, oh, these elk came right through here yesterday. Like, I wonder if they're using the same path. And I look up and I see a down tree, and it was wide open. There's just a down old dead tree. And I was like, let me just get right to that tree. Maybe they're going to come back through here. And I took 2 steps and I hear the cow bark at me, and she'd kind of come over the ridge and had seen me moving. So I just instantly froze. And of course, 2 or 3 more cows showed up, and they were like on high alert. They didn't smell me yet. The wind was good, but it was like, oh, I got caught. I was like, I should have known better, anyway, got busted a little bit, but one of the things that I did really well, and I think people can learn from this, is instead of just following that herd, they went up, and by the time they kind of got up and were moving, it was like, okay, now the wind's not going to be good. By the time I catch up with moving elk, and a lot of people make this mistake where they're just like, I'm just going to keep following them. Well, they're watching their back trail. They're, they're going to catch you. So I said, okay, I'm going to make a big loop, go across the canyon, and just see if I can watch them bed and slow play this. Maybe it's a midday scenario. So instead of trying to force it, being patient, and I went all the way across the canyon, and now I'm half mile away, and I get all the way up on that canyon, and I throw up the glass, and I'm just glassing. It took probably 45 minutes or an hour, and I finally like pick them up. They had made it to some timber stuff. They made it a lot farther than I thought they were going to, but was able to pick them back up. And I think it's a good lesson of like, you can always regroup, right? Just because you bump them doesn't mean it's over, but regroup and come at it a different way. Don't force it. Anyway, I can't even hear him so far away, but I can see him. This bull's still up chasing, and I'm like, I can get close. So I bomb all the way back across the canyon, work up, get right to the drainage they're in. And sure enough, there's a truck parked at the bottom. I don't know if that guy must have known they were going to go there or something. Cause I'm like, either that guy got really lucky parking right there, or he had been hunting him the day before. So by the time I got to the bottom, I could hear him screaming up there. I'm like, man, that bull is hot. And I think in that scenario, if I wanted to, I could have just slipped right in, and that's a great midday tactic, is like, if you got a bull screaming midday, like, that's a dead bull. Like, just slip in. And long as you can keep good wind, which is sometimes tough, but if you can get that midday hard wind, you can slip in and honestly just get close enough to like let something develop. If he's running around, he's going to make a mistake. And that would have been my goal, but I didn't want to mess with that guy. I figured he was already hunting him, and I didn't really care to shoot that bull anyway. So anyway, long story short, like, made some good decisions and felt good. Like, felt like I had it, spent a couple of years where I wasn't really dogging elk. And so went in there and got close a couple of times. So it was fun.
What's been, kind of like your most difficult hunt that you've done
lately? I would say Arizona 2 years ago, late rifle kicked my ass.
Tell me about it.
So I drew at Arizona, really tough hunt, but there are some big bulls. It's not known for being an easy hunt. It's probably, let's just say it's one of the easiest tags to draw for a reason. But there are giants in there. And, so I went down. It was one of those hunts where my truck broke down the week before, took a loaner, took my father-in-law's truck, blew out a tire on the way down, blew out another tire when I got, just like one of those hunts where, first day I'm there, side by side, blows a belt. I'm by myself. So side by side blows a belt. Luckily, some guys drug me back to camp. Had to hike all the way back up another 2 miles and climb up to get service. I had to buy a belt, I'm trying not to let anything ruin my hunt. Cause I'm like, I drew Arizona, finally drew Arizona. And I see this a lot. I had a buddy this happened to where it's like everything's going wrong. You cannot let it eat you up. And you're just like, this isn't getting to me. Like, I need a side by side. Don't have it. Like, ship the wrong belt. I overnighted it. Like, all these things are just like going on. So I was in Arizona for 16 days, and I don't know, day 3 or 4, 5, found a good bull, found a shooter bull. And I should have killed him right there. Like, it just made a mistake. But long story short, it was like, okay, this is the bull. I'm hunting this bull. And I think I hunted him another 12, 13 days, and I would catch glimpses, but it was just like not enough. You'd see him 2 miles away across the ridge. It was just very, 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 very difficult hunt. And I will say I feel good about like the mentally strong part, because I think that hunt kicked my ass for 16 days straight. And it was like, I didn't plan on going that long. And my wife was even like, do you need to stay longer? And I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'll walk away from this one now. So I don't know. Like,
put in a full effort.
Yeah. Put in a full effort. I learned a lot. I think I could do better on it the next time, which is always the case. But, you always hang your head high when, mentally you stuck with a hunt. You grind, through all the obstacles. I try not to let those obstacles eat you. I've just been on enough of those where it's like, man, it just feels like the hunting gods are trying to take me out.
Yeah, you were getting pummeled before you'd even started hunting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean, and that's a testament to you and who you are as a person, because that's not like a mental toughness that you just decide you're going to pick up there. You have to be prepared for that, because life constantly just it can beat you down, and it can get you to the point where you just, it's like, whatever.
I had a good buddy. He drew a late Utah tag, burned a lot of points to get it. And I actually was going to go down with him first day or so. And we made it 2 hours from his house, or our house, and transmission goes out. And you could just see it like in his head. He's like, no. Like, he starts to like fall off. And it's like so easy to do. And I was trying to talk him off a cliff. I'm like, you're fine, man. Let's just run back to the house. We'll switch. You just take my truck on the whole hunt. Like, don't let this, because that's when things snowball. Like, one bad thing happens and like you start to just proliferate that thing, and you just let it eat you up on the hunt, and then everything starts going wrong. And like, this will happen on a lot of hunts. Like, it's good, like something terrible is going to go wrong, maybe 3 things. And then you have to just like, okay, we got this. We got to stick with it, stick with the plan, and those things. And I think back to the whole planning, I think this is why it's so important to have plans. A lot of guys will make one plan, maybe 1 or 2 plans. They get there, you're tired. It's day 5, and you're like, nothing I did worked. You know what? Bag it. I'm going home. Because you don't have the mental capacity to think through a new plan, new strategy, start all the way over. But that's why it's really good. And I got this from my buddy Mark Livesay. He is great at e-scouting, great at hunt planning, and he will have 10 plans, because we just know that, gosh, you get tired, you get fatigued, like, you're not going to be able to rethink this entire situation. So you need to like just look at the plan. Like, we're going to plan D. Here's plan D. Like, I don't have anything left in the tank, but like, we're doing it. And I think it's really important to have all those plans. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, that sounds something that can be applied to more than just hunting, right?
Right.
So, yeah. What would you, I also think too, just kind of like on this like mental toughness thing, I think too, if you don't have your house in order when you go out, you're not going to like those other things that, in variables that come up, transmission, whatever, that's going to be a really tough thing to push through.
Totally.
Because, you got the wife checking in, you got maybe work or something's checking in, and it just completely, I mean, I could just see it completely ruining a hunt. You're just not in it. And then it makes like the tough things that you want to do in order to be successful, you're just done. You just give up before you even get into it. And like I said, I mean, I think that applies to a lot of different aspects of life. So if I would, that one thing that I would say to somebody is if you're getting into hunting, like make sure that you've got like your affairs in order before you go out so that you can be able to like focus on your end goal, which is harvesting an animal. So
and I think like, set the bar low. You have to have successes because this is all going to be a giant failure. Like, trust me, I've been doing this my whole life, and like, it's going to be hard. It's going to suck, and you're not going to want to be there. And that's when you got to really want it. I think, it's easy to look at Instagram or YouTube and, or watch Brian Call go hunting. Right. And you're like, I want to do that. And then you get out there, you're like, this is not the same thing. And it's going to be hard. It's going to suck. And stick with it. And that, you'll look back on that. It's kind of like my Arizona thing. Like, do I feel good about the output I did? And I'm huge like inputs, outputs. Like, don't focus on success as in killing something. Focus on like, I'm going to execute perfect outputs, and the input that comes, is what it is. Like, I'm going to execute my plays, and if I kill an elk, I kill an elk. That's great. But I'm going to hunt hard. I'm going to hunt well, and I'm going to make the right calls, and I'm going to stick with it to the very end. And, if I get lucky, I get lucky. But so many people like, I need to kill something. And then they start making mistakes. They start doing the wrong things. Things start snowballing. And like, you fall apart mentally. And like, no one talks about that, but like, it's very true. Like, I've seen the best hunters in the world fall apart mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that I've got to kill a bull. It reminds me of, the dating scene, like in high school, right? It's like I've got to go out with this girl. The more desperate you get, the more distance is created between you and and getting that date, right? It's like, hey, play it cool. You have your plan. Just work through everything and just let the chips fall where they may. But give yourself the bet. You got to put forward 100% effort. But
like I was gonna say that, it goes back to like, I think I said outputs equal inputs, but inputs equal output. So if I say, one of my tactic is like, I'm going to hunt bedding areas, and I'm going to slip in, and I'm going to do my cow calling sequence, which I've predetermined. And I'm going to do that, whatever, in these scenarios 10 times a day. If I know that if I do this setup, this input, I do this 10 times a day, I'm going to get, 2 encounters to work. And it's like, I just execute this over and over and over. Similarly, like, man, if I hit great glassing spots, I'm at great glassing spot every evening and every morning till the absolute darkness, you're going to find elk. It's just math. I should say it's just math, but like, it's going to work. Right. And so you have to focus on what you can control, which is like executing well. And, the chips are going to fall where they fall, but, you'll make better decisions over time. But that's so much better than, how do I kill an elk? Oh, maybe I should do this thing. Maybe I should do that thing. Oh, like, I heard this podcast the other day where like you do this call. It's just like, I don't know. Never works.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're out there, and I mean, you've put forth the effort to get into the backcountry. You've had to have trained, and or you haven't, and which is another element of it. But But yeah, you get out there, and I get it because I've been there, and I've been like, I've got to find something. And I'm doing things just to be doing something, and it's just not the right thing. So that is one of the things that now you've got me convinced I need to sit down and create a system for when I go out and have like, okay, like here's like plan A, here's where we're going to look. If there's nothing there, we're going to start moving on to B, C, D, E, however deep you have to go to do it. But yeah, I think that's great advice. So
yeah, and if anybody wants, I have on my website, there's an entirely free e-scouting course, which is like just the system of e-scouting. And I just kind of break down a unit and go through kind of my thought process, which you could steal. I don't know if the spots are any good, but actually never actually been there. And I did that intentionally, but it just, I think you could glean a lot from just the frameworks and the thought process behind some things of like how to think about things. And I think that, I don't know, maybe it has helped a lot of people. So I'm sure it'll help.
awesome. Yeah. If someone wanted to go find that, where would they go look for that?
Yeah, you can just go to elkhunt201.com and it should pop up under free resources. Yeah.
Sweet.
It's worth watching.
Yeah. Make sure and put that in the show links as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cody, okay. 2 questions for you. 1, what is the most overrated piece of hunting equipment?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that in a while. Most overrated. I almost want to say new bow, because I do feel like people buy new bows like crazy. And I mean,
idiots. Who does that?
I just got some buddies that kill. I mean, you could kill an elk with a really old bow, but like the flip side of that conversation is confidence is everything. Most overrated. Gosh, I don't like. I'm coming over the blank. I kind of want to say that. That's the first thing that came to mind. I guess
well, then let's go with that. Like a bow. I mean, a new bow. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna go bow hunting, you better damn well have a bow. Yeah,
it's pretty important.
And maybe shoot it once or twice. But yeah, on the other side of that, like, what's the one piece of hunting equipment that you don't go hunting without?
A bow, no. To me, I always say buy tags, not gear. And so the most important, I don't know if it falls into gear, but the most important gear for killing elk is probably, I used to say diesel. I own a gas truck now. So like it's gasoline. I mean, covering ground, like maybe it's boot leather. Like those are more important than anything, is like just cover ground. Maybe I'll say it's gas or diesel, right? Like burn a lot of that stuff, because you're going to cover a ton of ground. Sometimes that's boot leather, depending on the hunt, the area, whatever. But yeah.
Wow, I love it. That's the first time I've heard that one since I've started asking. Right. The one I typically get a lot is that the most overrated piece is camo.
I disagree, actually. It's funny, and I don't know, like, to each their own. Everyone kills. Here's my thoughts on camo, and I've been bumped. The bull I killed last year, I think, only happened because I was wearing camo. And I hunt both. Like, I understand both sides of this argument. But the day a 400-inch bull comes running in and spots me instantly and busts because I wasn't wearing camo, like, what was the cost there? It doesn't cost any, like, really doesn't anymore. It doesn't cost any more to wear camo. Like, maybe you don't look as cool. I don't give a F. Like, people will spend so much money on a new bow if it gets 1%. So if camo gives you a 1% odds in one scenario once in your life, it was worth it. Like, to me, it's like, what's the cost? I don't understand that part. Now, granted, I hunt without camo too sometimes. Like, it's kind of whatever I'm wearing, and I do have both, right? Like, but like, man, I have been in enough situations where elk kind of bust you, and you get away with that drawing your bow. Because people are always like, well, they catch movement. Have you ever drawn your bow without moving? Because I haven't. Like, it's difficult. So, like, if it helps me in one scenario, it was worth wearing.
Yeah. No, I don't, like, I get both sides of the argument. I think some people get caught up too much. Like one, you have to have a bow, right? And you go into the bow shop and they'll sell you whatever you got the money to buy. Yeah. Right. And then the camo, I mean, I went out, I bought all the Sitka gear and it looked cool. And at the time that was like the hot stuff. And, but it goes back to your stage 2, right? If you can't find them, doesn't matter if you're wearing camo or not. Right. Right. So it might help you on the lucky phase, right, where they just stumble into you. But no, I get it. I mean, and I think the other thing too, that goes along with that is like the scent technology. I think is another key element to that. and understanding, which we've talked about a lot, like the, you know, the thermals and like the wind, because if you're upwind, you know, you want to be downwind from them. You don't want to give yourself a chance. So again,
Yeah.
you know, the wind is important, but yeah, the camo, I can see both sides of the argument. I don't really have a dog in the fight. Like it's just like, it's curious to me, cause I do now have like both. You start buying the solids and stuff, but I haven't gone to the Walmart pants yet, but a lot of guys like the Walmart, solid. They've got I guess an outdoor pant, Wrangler. It's Wrangler solid pant. But yeah, I like the Prana too. Like if you're looking to just get some solid color stuff, wait for them to go on sale. You can get them for like $40, $50, something like that. But
hey, I think, you know, the best asset for hunting is confidence. So if you feel like $1 million in your solids and you look cooler on IG, man, like go for it. Like whatever works for you, bro.
yeah, I gotta get to the point where I'm finding more elk before I think I need to even worry about that. So
Yeah.
anyway, Cody, brother, hey man, I appreciate your time. It's been great to get to know you. Is there any thoughts you'd like to leave before we kind of wrap up here?
I don't know if I have any thoughts. I don't know. Keep after it. Everyone keep hunting. You know, love the sport, love it for the right reasons. Those type of things. I don't know. Nothing special.
Yeah. Well, you know, enjoy the journey, because if you're new to hunting, I know some guys go out and get lucky right out the get-go, but it's going to be a journey in order to find success. So
That's
Cody,
so true.
thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate you being able to share your wisdom that you've developed since you started hunting and doing your own podcast. Again, guys, go over, give Cody a follow. It's the Rich Outdoors podcast. Elk is elkhunt201.com.
Yeah.
Okay, go check it out. He's got that free e-scouting training that you can take a look at. And if you felt like you've learned something from this podcast, or somebody that you know could benefit from hearing this, please share it. Send it out to him. Text it to him. YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I mean, it's wherever you listen to your podcast, it's available. But share it, and then make sure to give Cody a follow. He's got a lot of good wisdom and tools that can help you better at the game. So thank you, and stay safe, and God bless.